Alright, recognizing the various parts of a script is the first step to understanding modern JavaScript. So in this video, we'll be going over the various parts of a script, starting with variables down to comparison operators. Alright guys, at the end of this tutorial, if you think the video was helpful, please hit the like button, and if you have anything to say or any questions, just leave a comment, and if you're new, please consider subscribing for more updates. Alright, we'll start with JavaScript data types. Now, one of the most fundamental characteristics of a programming language is the set of data types that it supports. So basically, computer programs work by manipulating values such as numbers like 10, 20, 3.14, or text like hello world, hi, and other character sets or symbols. Now these values, they can be represented, stored, and manipulated in a programming language is what we call data types. Alright, so to be able to operate on variables, it is important to know the different data types available in that programming language. Alright, before we go into the different types of JavaScript data types, it is important to note that JavaScript is a loosely typed or a dynamically typed programming language, meaning that the same variable can be used to hold different data types. For example, I am using my var here to hold a number, a boolean, null, and also a string. And secondly, it is important to note that variables are not bound to a particular data type. You cannot say this variable is used for this data type. Alright, next up we'll move to the different types of JavaScript data types. Alright, next is JavaScript data types. Now, JavaScript data types can be divided into three categories. The first one is the primitive types, the second is the object types, and the third is the special types. Alright, we're going to start with the primitive data types. Now, the primitive data types are data types used to store or hold a single data, and for these kind of data types we have three of them. We have the numbers, the strings, and the boolean. Alright, we'll start with strings. Now, a string is a primitive data type in JavaScript used for representing text. So whenever you write a text, that text is what is called string. Now, the length of a string is usually a 16-bit value it contains. Now, I won't go deep into this because you won't understand what I will say. Alright, now to assign a string, we use the equal to operator, and when we want to join two strings, we use the plus sign. Now, what I mean is, let's say I have a variable called 4. Now, to assign a string to this, I will put my equal sign and I'll put my quotation mark. Now please note, we use single, or we enclose our string in a single or double quotation mark, but I will advise that you always use double, because sometimes when you have things like can't in your text, now you can see I have a single quotation mark. So if I'm enclosing this in a single quotation mark, it would be seen. Now when I do this, you can see I have a single quotation mark here, and I also have a single quotation mark here. Now JavaScript is going to think that this is one string and is not going to understand what is going on here. So because of this apostrophe, it is advised to always use your double quotation marks. Alright, now when I do this and type in my string, can't be there. Now let's say I want to add another string. I'll put my plus sign and I'll add my second string, tomorrow. So basically your string is the text in JavaScript, and we assign a script to a variable using this equal to sign, and we combine two strings using the plus operator. Next is numbers. Now, the number data type is used to represent both positive or negative numbers with or without decimal place, and also numbers with exponential notation. Now, basically, we have two classes of numbers: the integers, which is a non-decimal place number, and your floating point values, which are decimal place numbers. Now, it's important to note that all numbers in JavaScript is actually represented as floating point values. So whenever you type in your number, like your 4, JavaScript sees it as 4.0, or your 5, it sees it as 5.0. Now, we also use the number data type to represent some special values such as infinity, minus infinity, and nan, not a number value. And it's important to note that the range of numbers that JavaScript accepts is within minus 2 raised to the power 53 to plus 2 raised to the power 53, and when you expand this, you're going to get this value. Alright, next is Boolean. Now, when making comparison in JavaScript, we use Boolean values. So a Boolean value represents truth or falsehood, on or off, yes or no. Now, in JavaScript, we use true or false to represent these different conditions. Now, Boolean values are commonly used in JavaScript control structures. Now, for example, the if/else statement in JavaScript performs one operation if the Boolean value is true and another if the Boolean value is false. Now, let's say I come here and I put my condition and I say if a is equal to 4, I'm going to enclose this in a bracket. A is equal to 4, then b should be equal to b plus 1. I'm really slow in typing. And else, we say else, that's if that's false, you say a equal to a plus 1, a equal to a plus 1. So like we use this in control structures along with other. So you usually combine a comparison that creates a Boolean value directly with a statement that uses it. Alright, that's basically what we use the Boolean values for.